Welcome, everyone. We're doing a deep dive today into something truly tragic, an event that's really shaken so many people. On June 12th, 2025, Ahmedabad experienced a devastating air disaster. We want to look closely at what happened and maybe understand the wider impact.
Absolutely. And our goal here isn't just to cover the news headlines. We really want to explore this from uh, from all sides. We'll touch on the human stories, which are just heartbreaking, the technical aspects, which are complex, the rescue efforts,
Yeah.
and crucially, what lessons can we possibly draw from this to try and prevent anything like it happening again? Understanding the different facets is key.
Okay, so let's start with the core facts then. What do we know happened immediately? The plane itself was an Air India Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, Flight AI 171, and the crash occurred just moments after it took off from Ahmedabad.
Yeah, it was an almost instantaneous catastrophe. The aircraft collided with a nearby medical college hostel right after lifting off, and the impact resulted in this enormous fire, just turning a routine departure into an absolute nightmare.
And those first moments sound just horrific. We've heard eyewitness accounts describing students actually jumping from the hostel building.
Just jumping in terror to escape the flames.
Yeah, and amidst that chaos, you also saw this incredible immediate response. Not just the official first responders, but students, locals.
hmm Ordinary people rushing towards the
Yeah.
danger, forming human chains, trying to pull people from the debris. It speaks volumes about that initial human reaction, that solidarity.
It really does. Then as the dust settles, you start to grasp the sheer human cost.
Right. And the numbers are just staggering. The confirmed death toll stands at 274 people. And that includes everyone on the plane, but also people who were inside the hostel on the ground.
So many lives. And within that number, there's this one detail that's particularly poignant, the story of Vishwas Kumar Ramesh. He's been identified as the sole survivor of the crash.
Just one person. It's almost impossible to fathom.
And think about the families of the victims. The pain is unimaginable, and then there's the added challenge of identification.
Exactly. The intensity of the fire, the scale of it, it's made DNA identification incredibly difficult. We're talking about complex forensic work, fragment identification, just trying to give families some certainty, some closure. It's a painstaking process.
And behind the numbers, there are these individual stories that really bring the tragedy home.
They do. Like the promising young cricketer, Dhruv Patel, whose life was just cut short, or the account of parents who had, literally just gotten back from a trip to Spain, only to be caught up in this. These are real people, real lives lost.
So once the immediate crisis response is underway, the focus shifts, doesn't it, to figuring out how this happened.
Yes, the investigation phase.
Yeah.
And recovering the black box, the flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder. That was the absolute priority early on.
And they did manage to recover it.
They did, yes.
Yeah.
Which is a critical first step in piecing together this very complex puzzle.
Are there any early clues emerging from, say, CCTV footage or other initial data?
Well, some initial observations from CCTV indicate the aircraft used the entire length of the runway for takeoff. And visually, at least, there were no obvious signs of trouble, no smoke, or anything unusual coming from the plane itself before the impact. But one thing that investigators are looking at very closely now is the possibility that the ram air turbine, the RAT, might have activated automatically.
Okay, the RAT. For people listening who might not know, what exactly is that, and why is its potential activation so significant here?
Right, so the RAT, the ram air turbine, is basically an emergency backup system. Think of it like a small propeller that deploys from the aircraft. If the main engines fail, or if there's a major electrical system failure, the airflow spins this turbine, and it generates emergency power for, essential flight controls and systems.
So it's a last resort kind of system.
Exactly. And for it to activate on a modern plane like a 787, especially right after takeoff, that's highly unusual. The 787 relies heavily on electrical systems, so a R8 deployment suggests a potentially catastrophic, very sudden loss of multiple main power sources. It immediately makes investigators think beyond just, say, one engine failing to something possibly affecting the entire electrical architecture. It complicates the picture significantly.
Wow. So if the RAT did deploy, that points towards a much bigger problem than just an engine issue.
Potentially, yes. It signals a possible systolic power loss, which, as I said, is incredibly rare on these jets. It forces the investigation to widen its scope immediately. You're not just looking at engines, you're looking at the whole electrical system, hydraulics, everything. It raises fundamental questions. Was it a cascade of failures? Some kind of deeper design or maintenance issue? It certainly pushes us to ask broader questions about air safety overall.
Which leads us to the crucial next step. What does this all mean moving forward? What lessons need to be learned? What actions are necessary?
Well, firstly, there's the immediate and ongoing support for the victims and their families. That includes navigating the complexities of compensation, which is vital. But looking longer term, an incident like this inevitably triggers a deep, comprehensive review of aviation safety protocols.
More than just tweaking existing rules, presumably.
Oh, definitely. Experts are looking beyond just stricter regulations. There's serious discussion about accelerating innovations like mandated real-time data streaming from aircraft.
Mhm.
Imagine if the black box data was streamed continuously. Even if the physical box is damaged or lost, you'd still have that crucial information instantly. It could fundamentally change accident investigations.
That continuous improvement angle is so important. And it's not just the technology, is it? This also shines a light on the human side.
Absolutely. The mental health support needed is immense. For the survivor, for the bereaved families, even for the first responders who witnessed unimaginable scenes. That's often overlooked but critical. And you also see the importance of community solidarity, how people coming together provides a foundation for healing, however long that takes.
Are there other factors, perhaps less obvious ones, that investigations typically look into after something like this?
Yes, definitely. One thing we learn time and again is that human factors often play a much larger role than initially thought, even when technical failures are involved. So things like crew training, fatigue management, how the crew communicates and works together in the cockpit resource management, these areas always come under intense scrutiny. It prompts a reevaluation. Are the training protocols robust enough? Are the regulations around flight times adequate? It's a constant cycle of learning and adapting.
It really underscores the immense trust we place in air travel, doesn't it? And the need for constant vigilance.
It does. It really brings home the importance of safety for every single flight, every passenger, every time. Our trust in these incredibly complex systems is fundamental.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for our listeners to consider.
Perhaps reflect on this. When something like the Ahmedabad tragedy happens, it profoundly tests our faith in the systems built to protect us. From the design of the aircraft to the procedures on the flight deck to the investigation itself, it forces us to ask, what does continuous vigilance truly mean for the future of flying globally? And how deeply intertwined are the technology and the human elements in maintaining that essential trust?